Hello, my name is Cameron Clark, and I'm going to present today about my practicum that me and Juwan Turner did with our football team called Leaders of Today. This is a workshop study that we try to implement with some of our student athletes that participate on the football team to get them understanding the leadership skills and leadership theories and leadership styles to where they can become leaders in the future. So the first thing we had to do was research. So I was mainly in charge of researching the nonverbal and verbal communication, different skills for the different styles that we would present. And what I found was that 75 to 78% of what is stored in your brain is through nonverbal communication. So whether that's screaming at somebody, it's not really what you say all the time, it's how you say it, how fast you say it, tone, speed, and pitch is really critical when trying to get your point across, especially to young adults, I would say. Sometimes they take it too literal how you say it and not what you say actually. Another thing is to have good eye contact. They found that it's very critical to have good eye contact when you're speaking to somebody, especially in a formal situation where it's a business meeting or anything. You want to have good eye contact where they know that you're focused in on the conversation, not daydreaming or drifting off. Another thing that I wanted to point out to the student athletes was how many relationships start with you're in a classroom or you're in a bar or anywhere that you see a wink or a smile from across the room from a girl or a boy and you're like, hey, that guy looks good. So I want to get that through your head that most of the first impressions are through nonverbal communications. So whether it's, like I said, a wink or a smile or maybe just a hey, just kind of how you present yourself is really critical when you're talking through first impressions. So that's kind of the point right there. That's about it. And another thing is really your body position and posture when another person is speaking to you is also very critical when it's for another nonverbal communication. So after we kind of researched it, me and Juwan had to sit down and decide who was going to participate in our workshops. So we figured out that we needed to have underclassmen. We didn't want any rising seniors because we wanted it to be guys who we thought could develop into leaders. And really we thought, hey, if they're a junior and they're really not showing any leadership skills, we didn't want to kind of develop them. Not that they didn't matter, but we wanted to focus our attention on the rising freshmen and sophomores. So we chose 11 individuals. We try to get as diverse as we can with race, position groups, offense, defense, all that. So kind of get everybody in one because sometimes a lot of people don't understand the football team. There's different cliques. So there's offense, there's defense, there's special teams, and a lot of the specs, especially the special teams players, they're kind of like an outsider to a lot of the football teams. So we wanted to involve them especially into this. So kind of show the other team that they could be leaders as well. And kind of show the specs, the kickers and punters, that hey, they can become leaders of this team, not just because they kick the ball. That doesn't mean they're not part of the team. So we want to do that. So we ended up with 11 individuals, 5 on offense with the diversity of position groups, whether a receiver, offensive lineman, running backs, and then a kicker and a punter for special teams, and then 4 defensive guys, whether it's secondary, D-line, linebackers. So this was basically the guys that were going to participate in our workshops every week. The 6 things that I wanted to have as a learning outcome was I wanted to extend my knowledge of the different types of leadership styles, which I think I did that because we had to, I'm going to go into further, that we had to research the styles, make sure we were on our P's and Q's when we introduced those styles to the workshop, to the team. Another thing that I wanted to do was increase my appreciation of the different types of leadership styles. At first I always thought, hey, Democratic's probably the best way to do it, but I wanted to increase that, hey, there's an opportunity for laissez-faire. There's certain things where authoritarian is better. There's certain opportunities in organizations that different styles could be better. So I wanted to increase my appreciation of those, and I think I did that with especially listening on these workshops with the student athletes. They had a lot of good ideas of different organizations that they thought that a certain style would work better in. And third outcome I wanted to have was I wanted to increase my skill to lead groups and workshops and I think I did that well because we did it, like I said, once a week for about 12 weeks. So at first I wasn't too sure if I was going to be able to do it, but I got through it, and I really thought I did increase my skill. Fourth thing I wanted to do was I wanted to deepen my understanding of nonverbal communication in regards to leadership. And I think that was another thing that I did very well with, especially the research I had to do and talking over with the student athletes. They kind of had some good understandings and different philosophies that I would say than what I thought of nonverbal communication. They kind of added some input in. Another thing, I wanted to deepen my ability to understand the followers to be able to be led, to be able to lead. So kind of, Jawan really did a good job with this one. He was in charge of the understanding the followers of different stages. There's different stages of where the follower is. He might be really close to you, hey, he's on track. And then there's some that are, hey, he's not, I don't think he's leading us the right way. So you got to kind of understand where each follower is, and to be able to guide them and help them lead the team and reach the goals that you want to reach. So I definitely got that goal. Another learning outcome that I wanted was to deepen my awareness to accept change. I think this is really critical for especially young athletes and student athletes, because especially in the college football game, there's going to be times where your position coach leaves. You might have liked them, you might have hated them, but you got to be able to accept change. And I think I struggled with that last year when we got a new head coach. I kind of adjusted to the way he ran things, and the new head coach came in, and I had to adjust and accept the change that was happening, that it was going to be for the better, not for the worst. So kind of decide, hey, is this going to be for the better, for the worst? We had to discuss that with the student athletes, and I thought I would definitely deepen my awareness for that. Some of my tasks and responsibilities, my main thing was probably to research and gather the information and gather the agenda for each workshops that me and Juwan were. We were the only two doing it, so we were in charge of the whole workshops and running it, preparing for it, all that. So a lot of research went into it, especially for the pre-workshops. And then during the workshops, obviously me and Juwan, we were both in charge of running it, whether that was getting the discussion started, lecturing for like probably 10-15 minutes to start, and then asking questions to kind of get the discussion, or coming up with scenarios for the players to role play. So a lot of my tasks and responsibilities was either preparing for the workshops or giving the workshops. Would I do it again? Yes, I think it would be a really good thing to do. One thing that I would probably change would be trying to find a good time for everybody, especially in the spring. We kind of got messed up with spring ball, position meetings started happening, and people had class at this time, but then they had a meeting when we were meeting, so we kind of had to finagle a way to meet with everybody together, whether that was in the library at night or different in the mornings, or however we had to finagle it. But I would try to do it again, especially, I'll talk about that a little later. Leadership style, I think at the end of it, I still think that I'm more of a democratic leadership. I want to bring the staff involved, and I don't want to just be a boss all the time where they have to listen to me. I want to have input from them. But at the end of the day, I still understand that if whatever I think goes, where I don't want them to just think, hey, they can do it however they want it. In the staff meetings, Coach Cronin, he does a great job of, he's more of a democratic leader, where he's going to ask the staff, hey, is this okay? Is this how we should do it? And then by the end of the staff meeting, we figured it out how we're going to do it, and now the coaching staff have to go execute that. So I feel like I'm still more of a democratic leader, but a little more servant, because I am willing to serve, but definitely not laissez-faire. I don't think I'm not a laissez-faire leader. Unexpected learnings. One thing that I did not think that was going to happen was the players really picked up on what we were talking about, and they really got into it. I didn't think they would get into it as well. So really I learned that if you just give the players a voice, really, we kind of sat them around the table and we gave them a voice, and they enjoyed it, and they were able to open up and talk to us and tell us how they felt about X, Y, and Z, or tell us what they didn't like, what they liked from the season, stuff like that, leadership-wise, who they thought was a leader, who they thought just acted and was a pretender. So that was really good. I think it was really critical that giving your group a voice is really critical, or to at least make them feel like hey, they have a voice. You don't have to always listen to them, but I thought that was one thing I did learn that I was not expecting, that hey, they really jumped into it and they loved the idea of giving them a voice and having a safe place to come and talk. And another thing that I didn't expect that I learned is that these student athletes really picked up on it really fast, and you could tell that they were taking what they were learning in the conference room and the workshops to the football field and the weight workouts. And you could tell that they were trying to become leaders. I like to say, what had an offensive lineman that we had. I worked closely with the offensive line, and he always thought of himself as hey, I'm a guy that's just going to go do my work. I'm not a leader. I'm a lead by example guy. But you can kind of tell throughout the workouts and on the field workouts and spring practice that he was trying to move into that role of being a leader. And I thought that was really interesting to see how fast they picked up on the leadership skills and just the style that they were going to be a leader. Evaluation. I think one thing that I really thought was good was I think we created a great learning environment where we kind of had everybody sit on around one table where, hey, it's not a lecture where we're preaching down on you, but kind of like an open discussion. I think that really influenced our effectiveness of the workshops. I think that our student athletes thought that, hey, we're all one, we can all talk together and get through things and talk through things, and not, hey, one person's right, the person, me and Juwan is right because we're the lecturers. That, hey, we all have our opinions, and I think that was really critical of putting them all together at once and not having them separated like, hey, he's a leader, you're just a follower kind of thing. Everybody thought that they were a safe place to open up and share their leadership skills. Another thing that I was saying, that we were able to kind of see on the film, who was kind of becoming leaders, or we could see on the field in the weight rooms. So I think it was good for the players to go through these workshops. The integration of theory and practice. I would say we did a lot of this because we would always preach the theory. We started off preaching the theories, the different leadership styles. Hey, this is the democratic style, this is authoritarian style. We did about 6 different styles, and then we kind of tried to put it into practice with different role-playing scenarios. Hey, what organization do you think this could be, like I was saying earlier? So we kind of had them practice of different leadership styles, and then they could put the practice back into the theory and see if that's actually the theory that they want. If that's the leadership style that they want to use, whether that's laissez-faire, authoritarian, democratic, transactional, transformational. So we definitely used a lot of theories when me and Juwan, we had to research each theory, like I was saying, and research it so we could be able to teach these young student athletes what each style meant and how you are supposed to implement this into an organization and how you would do that. And so I think we definitely had to integrate theories, and then we had to practice the theories, whether that was through the leadership skills that we talked about or role-playing scenarios and just discussions. We practiced, hey, this is how we would do it. This is how you would be a democratic leader in this situation. This is how a laissez-faire leader would operate when this happens. So that was kind of how we integrated the theory and the practice. And conclusions, kind of one big conclusion I would say is, like I was saying earlier, I would do this again, and for my wherever I go next, hopefully as we have full-time coaching, I would like to do it with my position group as well. So that would be really good key for me, is to implement these leadership workshops into my next job, because I thought the student athletes really worked hard and prepared, and they really enjoyed it. It gave them a chance to learn. It gave me a chance to learn about them, kind of how each person sees themselves, and kind of give me a better understanding of how to coach them. I think I could do that, and I think through this they could kind of see why I am the leader I am and why we coach and how we coach them. So I think my conclusions would be I would like to do this again. I think it worked really well. And so that's all I have for this presentation. Thank you for listening.